Hey guys, so a lot of people have asked me about Granada for people with disabilities. Well, they've specifically people have asked me if you can get around Granada and if you can enjoy it, if you have a wheelchair, if you have a walker, and the short answer is yes. There are many areas in Granada which are very flat. They are very accessible. There are a lot of plazas. There are a lot of areas that are mostly pedestrian. So yes, I think for the most part you can do well if you have a walker or if you have if you're pushing someone in a wheelchair. Yet Granada is also a very historical city. There are some places like Albaicín up on the top of the hill. Like Albaicín is a historical neighborhood which is like kind of across the valley from Alhambra. And it is pretty much up and down hills. It's like climbing a hill with stairs, and I mean it's pretty steep, and it's a pretty rough trek going from the bottom to the top. So I know some people are wondering, well, hey, what is this like? So what I've actually done is created a walking tour from here where I am now in Plaza Nueva up to Albaicín to the Mirador of Saint Nicholas and specifically to the Mezquita Mayor de Granada. So enjoy and watch the tour. So when you come to visit Granada, if you visit one neighborhood, make it this one. Not the Alhambra, but the hill facing it. This is the Albaicín, and it's older than the city that everyone comes here to photograph. And by the city, I mean Alhambra, because it's actually a city and not just simply a palace. So before I get into the history, you have to understand the shape of this place because the geography basically wrote the history. Granada sits where two rivers meet and at the foot of the Sierra Nevada. And between them rise two hills. They're kind of facing each other across a narrow valley carved by the Darro River in the center. One hill is the Sabica, and that's where the Alhambra sits today, and the other is the Albaicín. For centuries, whoever controlled the Albaicín hill controlled the water, the walls, and the high ground over the city below. And that's not coincidence. It's the whole reason that the neighborhood exists where it does in the first place. So most of the books will tell you that the history of this place starts in about 711, and that's when the Arab-led conquest of Iberia began. But Albaicín as a real city actually begins 3 centuries later in 1013. After the collapse of the Cordoba Caliphate, he built a fortified palace right here on the hills of what is now known as Albaicín. And parts of that palace/citadel are still standing today, and you can walk alongside them if you visit. And you'll barely notice that you're standing beside something that was built 1,000 years ago. And this is the point worth sitting with. Albaicín is not old by comparison to Alhambra. It actually came first. Alhambra was built later, and partially because Albaicín had already been established in Granada as the capital that was worth defending. The name of the Albaicín itself goes back to the Arabic Albayazin, the people of Baeza, referring to Muslim refugees who fled here after the city of Baeza fell to Christian forces in the early 13th century. The area is actually named after the refugees who resettled it. Okay, fast forward to 1238 and a new dynasty takes over, the Nasrids, and they are the last Muslim rulers of the Iberian Peninsula, and they're named after their founder. The first ruler initially set up here in the Albaicín before moving the royal seat across the valley to the other hill, and beginning on what now is the Alhambra or Alhambra. Once the palace moved, the Albaicín didn't decline. It became the everyday city. The merchants and the artisans and the working population, the neighborhood mosque. If the Alhambra was the seat of power, Albaicín was where all of Granada actually lived. So it was the suburbs of sorts. Okay, and so fast forward to 1492, and in January of 1492, Abu Abdullah, who is known as Boabdil, the last Nasrid king, surrendered the keys of Granada to the Catholic monarchs Ferdinand and Isabella, who we've all heard of. It was one of the most consequential dates in Spanish history, and that's the end of nearly 800 years of Muslim rule on the peninsula, and it was the end of the Reconquista. What followed in the Albaicín was a slow architectural overwrite. Mosques became churches, often literally, built on top of the old foundations. The Church of San Salvador, for example, still has the original courtyard of the mosque that it replaced. Walk through the Albaicín today, and you will be seeing right before your eyes a composite of two religions, sometimes laid right on top of each other. Okay, so here's what's remarkable, and it's the reason that UNESCO named the Albaicín a World Heritage Site in 1994, alongside the Alhambra. Unlike reconquered Islamic cities, the street layout itself was never erased. The narrow, winding lanes, the dead ends, and the sudden staircases, I mean, those are all still here today. The medieval Islamic city, physically intact under everything, is built right on top of it. You will still also find the old cisterns, which were built to store water for a hillside city with no easy river access. One of the largest could hold up to 300 cubic meters of water and is still there today underground beneath the public square. And you'll find the Carmens, basically, which are the walled villa gardens that give the Albaicín its particular private character. If you peek through an open gate, and you might catch a courtyard garden that's been there in some form for centuries. And as you walk through, you'll actually see, lots of things that are named Carmen. And that's the significance of it, is that it has a garden that is connected to it or inside of it in a courtyard. So, to be honest, the beauty and the charm of the Albaicín neighborhood has nothing to do with any one single landmark. It is the whitewashed walls, the beautifully cobbled streets, the narrow roadways which make you feel like you've jumped into a time gone by. It's the beautifully smelling flowers that are sometimes just cascading over the walls. It's the orange trees, the fig trees, and the thought which went into this small city, which which you can see. You can see that it was a city that was lived in. When you come up here, you can come to the Mirador of Saint Nicholas, and a lot of people gather here on the walls every evening to see the beautiful Alhambra and the golden hour light. There are also a few restaurants which also provide very beautiful vistas. Now, the cobbled streets are great for looking at, but they're not so great like for heels or if you're dragging luggage that has wheels. So just keep that in mind. One of the best ways to get up here is just take a taxi from like Plaza Nueva or from wherever you're starting out. From Plaza Nueva, a taxi costs about 7 or 8 euros. And also from Plaza Nueva, you can catch a bus. The C31 and the C32 both cost about €1.60 and will bring you right up here. So hopefully this helps you choose Albaicín and the Alhambra as a destination. And cheers.